breaking the construction, external. He sits across the table from me and asks me, does it always have to be about racism? His question grabs at and pulls off his masks until between us, between the candles and the menu, his true being lies naked. He doesn't hurry to cover it. He is completely fine with what has just been exposed. I wonder if he can hear it at all. I wonder if he can hear how his words alone point to a position of power, the luxury of choice. At that very moment, I learned that in his world, racism is a subject for an entertaining discussion and not the root of an identity crisis, life choices or misfortunes, poverty or wealth, life or death. He can't imagine the black man and brown woman he meets going through different possible mental scenes with every move they make. Every move they make is automatically covered in darker and dark shades of which the magnificence remains ignored or attacked. Covered in dark shades as if that itself is a crime, guilty until proven otherwise. Walking outside becomes a possible life sacrifice rooted in colonial inheritance. You can ask the Americans. White people are not the enemy, but they are larger in number. And those powers built these city walls, structures, prisons. Acknowledge the influence of your thinking. Whiteness and power go together. Acknowledge your powers are a clear proof that your system of democracy is just a beautified form of tyranny. A meeting of 1 million dictators coming together every few years to decide about other people's lives without taking into consideration the impact of bad decisions on others than themselves. They would rather set fire to themselves and burn their houses with them. You can ask the Britons. Internal. He sits across the table from me and asks me, what in God's name do we as Muslims have to do with racial issues? It's best we don't interfere those few times we're finally left alone. I want to talk to him about how our ummah itself is divided by prejudice, about Arab-Asian superiority complexes, about how we're living proof that divide and conquer works, how it doesn't justify Islamophobia, but that's another story altogether that shouldn't be brought up. Let's focus. For how that same prejudice is killing us. He says that words like that divide us, as if addressing the problem is the problem. He says that this is a non-debate, since racism has no place in Islam. I look at him and realize that in about 46 seconds, he'll mention Bilal. I tell him that by pointing to this perfect God-given vision, we keep ignoring the pains of our black brothers and sisters. We keep forgetting our task to be witnesses, standing firm before justice, regardless of who is oppressor or who is oppressed, even against family, parents, ourselves, defending it with all that is left. I tell him maybe he should read chapter An-Nisa, the women. He says he always skips that part. I say, I can tell. He says, but Bilal, I know Bilal, as if Bilal is the only black body we're connected to, as if hanging with the right religious crew is what makes blackness valuable. I say the prejudice of our ummah is killing us, our people, our unborn children. He says, well, at least we're still breathing. Eric says, no, we're not. Internal. She sits across the table from me and asks me how white people can ever love us if we don't even love ourselves. She doesn't hear that her question itself points to the open wound of an inferiority complex. Why should our loving ourselves result to anything other than us loving ourselves? We are closer to each other's warmth than we realize. My beloved loose mouth taught me there are just hours between us across continents overseas. Borders exist only in our heads, and because we have accepted them while forgetting who draw the lines, let's draw ours here. A flight to the Americas is just 8 to 12 hours. To Asia is about 3. Africa, 2.5. Borders exist only in our heads, and because we have accepted them while forgetting who draw the lines. All you need is a plane ticket and courage. All I need is a plane ticket and courage. meaning the whole wide world can tell us that we have nothing to do with each other, but I only need a trip of 11 hours to arrive in Minnesota, scream Black Lives Matter, and bury my brother. Don't let them fool us. We have everything to do with each other. He sits across the table from me and asks me, does it always have to be about racism? Yes.